Parents that are narcissists often maintain control over their children even through adulthood. You see, children of narcissists often assume through hypervigilance the responsibility of the emotions of the child in the parent. It's almost a role reversal. You see, narcissists' parents use the children as instruments, if you will, props in the theatrical performance of their life. They feel entitled to your good behavior. See, they punish any emotions or behaviors that they call bad. You see, they don't have any tolerance for normal emotions. They lack empathy. They need you to just fall in line and demonstrate that they are good parents. And so, what ends up happening is that this hypervigilant need to try to be good enough for mom and dad, this profound conflict avoidance, this fear of saying no, this profound fear of failure, this profound fear of rejection, this profound fear of disappointing people, puts people pleasers into a pervasive catch-22, making them highly susceptible to be manipulated, gaslit, controlled, taken advantage of, and used throughout life and in all areas of life, transforming a child into an external validation confirmation machine, meaning the child will only feel good enough if they're being validated for something. And so the experience of being not good enough is strongly exaggerated in these interpersonal dynamics of people that have narcissists as parents, whereas everybody's driven the same way. So consider that everybody's driven to try to be good enough. Okay, and everybody experiences being not good enough for mom and dad. That is the structure of ego. But the structure of ego for people that had narcissists as parents are not focused on reality, but focused on the subjective realities of people around the child. You see, if you take, for example, a friend, we'll call him my successful buddy. My successful buddy right now, I could say, is probably a millionaire. He's in his 30s. Everything is going for him. But you see, he doesn't experience being good enough for his dad. His dad is a self-made, probably billionaire. And so he deals with the same fundamental insecurity driving his life. But you see, he didn't have to survive narcissist parents. So he was not being devalued and negated, but being held accountable, being groomed for success. So his whole family is very focused upon results. And so that meant really doing well in school, studying business, studying finance, mastering the art of navigating the world out there and being supported. So maybe he didn't feel good enough if he got a B, and it would be the same emotional experience as somebody with a covert narcissist mom who is projecting her own problems onto the child. And so you see, the non-narcissist parents don't do that. They don't project. They have objectivity. And they take the responsibility of preparing their children for life seriously as a responsibility, where the narcissist feels entitled to your independent success, often not really committing the same level of effort, unless the effort is being sort of like a soccer mom who's going to force you to be successful, or an intrusive dad who's trying to make you be the football star that he could never be, and then intervening and making you hate sports. And so you'll see that parents that are like the Tiger Woods dad, well, for every Tiger Woods dad, there's one Tiger Woods, and then a bunch of traumatized people who live a life not even of their own, resenting these very sports that are supposed to make them have fun. And really interesting thing is my brother Anthony once said to me that he thought I could be in the NFL if I had a real dad who took interest. But you see, the difference between me and my brother is while he's a victim to our dad, I'm not. And so never during my childhood or even after the divorce did I ever personalize my parents' divorce. I understood it, that I had a higher level of consciousness with respect to my childhood. You see, I still saw the good in people and had the architecture of a people pleaser, but I had a lot of creative capacity and a lot of inherent intuitive abilities with people. I even learned how to turn off a narcissistic injury. I knew how to fight with the psychopath and win. I knew how to turn a psychopath off. I could sit in the company of a psychopath and they could have that rage monster trying to surface, and I'm like Steve Irwin, or I'm not afraid. You see, the difference between me and them is that psychopathy and narcissistic injury is blind. It encounters a dramatic level of awareness reduction. And so when narcissists would attack me, they would usually end up on the ground face down, unconscious. Why? Because I would be in slow motion. I would be present, unafraid, and they would be rageful and just trying to tear me apart like an animal in a state of fear. And so you see, the point is that there is a big, big difference between objective awareness and subjective realities as constructed by ego. And so we're going to continue to dive in a little bit. And so back to the parents that are narcissists. You see, what they do, and this is a good example. Here's what my dad does. Now, I didn't know about this disorder, and when I discovered it, all of my relationships changed. I didn't need to go no contact. These people avoid me in my real life. And so my dad would call me. This is an example. Hey, son, I'm having some trouble with my Corvette. And so he would call me and describe some mechanical problem, and I would feel really bad. And I would invite him to bring the car to the shop. And so what he would do is that he would say, "No, don't worry about it. I don't want to trouble you." So he would call me maybe 5 or 10 times, milking me for sympathy. But then something would happen is then I would diagnose his car and he would start challenging my ideas and he would start to try to devalue me by comparing me to the dealership. And sometimes he would just take the car and then bring it there and then pay more and then complain about it. The last time I tried to help my dad was a clutch job. Now, on this Corvette, mind you, I have built 1,000 horsepower Corvettes, and my dad refuses to drive in any car I build. I didn't understand why. I thought that a car guy would love to see his son who was inspired by his father's stories and come by my business. And no, my dad has probably been by my business. Say I started in 2015, my brother and my dad probably been by a total of 3 or 4 times combined. They don't want to see me succeed and they don't want to acknowledge who I am. And so what my dad did the last time was I literally got my dad all the parts to do this job. My dad bought the parts, but he got it about a third the cost that the dealership was going to charge him because I had an account there. And so I had to, I was going to prepare to drop the whole rear transaxle out of my dad's car. You have to dismantle the whole rear end of the Corvette to do the clutch up front. It's a big job. And so, in this situation, what my dad started doing was complaining. Now, while my brother would refuse to come by my shop, they never had trouble getting me to work on their cars. And so I had my brother's wife's car, 135i, where we're literally fixing oil leaks. We're finding some wires that are chewed up by rats. And I am not a mechanic that helps in this type of work. I build cars, but my family always felt entitled to get me to help them. And so what my dad did is I told him I need him to bring the car on Monday. The parts arrive on Saturday. But he wanted to bring it on Thursday. And I told him, no, I can't get to it. I'm still working on that one, but I don't have the parts anyway. And so Saturday, he started complaining because he brought the car on Thursday anyway. I didn't have a lift where I could use it. I didn't have the parts until Saturday. They were already paid for. The parts were getting delivered, and my dad was already texting me. He started texting me angry. He felt mad that I was working on my sister-in-law's car that was there a week before, and I put it in front of his knowing that he had to rent a car, and that made him so angry. And then he started to challenge my competency. He knew that he made a big mistake in trusting me. And now he's coming and he's going to take the car back and he wants a full refund. And so now the parts just arrived and my dad shows up angry and he demands his money back. I give him the $500 that I charge him for labor, not because I was charging my dad, because I needed a help. So I had this other guy that I was going to pay to help me do this job simply because it's a big job, and it was just good to have an extra set of hands. But he tried to force me to get a refund and even pay more for the same parts. Well, I had him take the parts. He went and put it in a shop. They kept the car for 3 or 4 months and screwed it all up. And then he was a victim about that. They milk you.